Yeah. Yep. Jesus. Uh, there's a fire in central Lima. 18 units of firefighters have been dispatched. I had seen that there was a fire, but I didn't think it was that bad initially. So now we've got 2 fires ongoing. A total of 22 units of firefighters deployed. All while marches are ongoing around the country, strikes are ongoing around the country, and Dina Boluarte is welcoming foreign dignitaries. So there's a lot going on right now. I don't know if it's just better if I just stay live and try to keep people up to date on everything that's going on, because it is a lot. That is a big fire. And that is not, I don't know if that's the same thing. Jesus. I looked younger just yesterday. It feels that way right now. I mean, like, I've been tracking so much stuff that I feel like my eyes are crossed. So, like, normally this wouldn't go live until noon, and I just went, you know what, this might be easier if I am just live, and you know what, I'll take breaks when I need to take breaks, but maybe the filter. It could be the lighting. I'm backlit heavily, so if you were here last night, I probably did look a lot younger. But right now, there's a lot of light coming in behind me, so yeah. Okay, that is the same fire, and that's Central Lima. Okay, I couldn't tell right away if that was the same fire, because there are fires. Yeah, I could filter myself. I'm not going to do that. I know, like, I'm old. It's okay. Yeah. So I've got like so many tabs open right now, tracking everything that's going on. And the thing about it is, there's not a lot of really great media coverage going on right now either. Yeah, that's pretty much how it happens. Which makes me older every 24 hours. Like I'm Dorian Gray. That's what it is. 19 units of firefighters in central Lima fighting that. We're talking Apex stuff, but also like just everything that's going on. There's a lot going on right now. We've got at least 2 active fires, and the one in central Lima is actually fairly large. Now 19 units of firefighters on the scene in central Lima. We have at least 4 units on the scene in Ventanilla. Although I should refresh that because that could be more now. Yeah, this is getting worse in Ventanilla as well. So, or it did at least get worse for a little while. It's bad when the media starts publishing the phone numbers. Air Force One will probably be on its way overnight. Biden is meeting with Trump today. So in addition to the fires, let's see. Let's go through what we've got already today up on here. The marches started around 9:30. Some buses are working, some are not. Roads and bridges have been blocked in Puno and Huancayo. There are marches and strikes currently in Arequipa and Ica as well. The president of Vietnam arrived for APEC, but was not greeted by Dina Boluarte because Vietnam is a socialist republic, and I guess she doesn't want to be seen with socialists or something. I don't know. So instead, the president of Vietnam was received by the president of the judiciary, and the prime minister of Thailand has arrived, and the prime minister of Malaysia has arrived, but was greeted by Dina. And I think that's because Malaysia has sort of been making overtures toward Peru in terms of cooperation. Yeah, that means he's going to be hilarious, Trump. And yeah, it's going to be weird for sure. Yeah, it's going to be weird, that meeting is. But then after that, I believe Biden will be on Air Force One to Lima shortly after that meeting. And go from Marine One to Andrews Air Force Base onto Air Force One, landing in Lima. He'll get to sleep on the plane, I guess. Probably won't. There will be cutouts for tariffs for sure. Those cutouts will likely surround businesses owned by Elon Musk, Ivanka Trump, and Donald Trump, because a lot of their manufacturing is done in China and they won't want to tariff themselves. That would be ridiculous. Yeah, so you got, like, of course, tires on fire in the road in Puno and Huancayo. Like, it's the U.S. and yeah, the new president of Mexico. I am not sure how that's going to go down, and there's a fair bit going on in Mexico domestically that will make that more difficult. Is that not special interest? Of course it is special interest. Of course it is. Of course it's corruption. Of course it's all of those things. Um, this is why when people ask me, is Peru more corrupt than the US? I just say no, it's just different. Um, yeah. Ministry of Housing looks like it's reacting to in Huánuco, which is good. So a lot of houses were damaged in the rains and landslides. So that is good. Yeah, there's a lot of debris coming off the building in Central Lima as it sort of falls apart. That's people are. I heard she's taking deported Mexicans, but people are allowed to even fly the airplane. You're going to see a lot of stuff go down when it comes to the movement of people. Canada has made a statement, even in the last 24 hours, that not all asylum seekers will be accepted, because they are expecting a large increase in those seeking asylum as they are about to be deported from the United States. So there's going to be migratory issues. There's going to be big migratory issues for Peru. Yes, they do. That's exactly how they see it. Even for myself in Peru, while I was going through residency and everything like that, I ended up overstaying my tourist visa. It's not a problem, right? Like, well, you have money, so it's okay, right? But that's not always the reality for people, right? So, yeah, so we are live right now, for those who don't know, on YouTube and TikTok. And I don't know how long we'll go. It could be a very long day. And it's gotten to the point of tracking everything and putting out videos and all of that stuff where it might just be better if I stay live. But we'll see if things calm down a little bit or if everything stays really, really, really busy. Because there is a lot going on. We're going to close that one. Also, I've been updating the story on the website about, as things relating to APEC strikes and protests have come in. So that's also being updated constantly, it feels like. So now strikers along the Panamericana Norte in Huacho, they are essentially blocking the highway, essentially. Yeah, that doesn't surprise me coming out of Huacho at all. Huacho is a great little city, but they would definitely be impacted by a lot of the things that are currently going on in the country. So you would absolutely expect that they would be joining any strike movement, any protest movement. So the fire in central Lima is 1 block away from the Lima Maternity Hospital. So of course there is there's like, I guess, additional sort of concern. You don't want that fire to spread, and it does look like it's a relatively large structure fire. At least the upper floors of an apartment building involved there, and multiple water cannons trying to control the fire. I would also think that, like, given the location, it's not like you wouldn't be able to see that from the government palace. You would be able to see that. You're going to have Alien, you're going to have a lot of instances where foreign leaders, foreign politicians are going to have to backtrack on a lot of what they've said about Donald Trump, knowing that they will be targeted. The country will be targeted as a result of things that are said against Donald Trump. And so you're gonna see a lot of it. Yeah. Also, there were raids this morning related to the Lozano case in San Isidro. That shouldn't surprise anybody, I don't think. That case is ongoing. Ollanta is in court again today. That's also ongoing. Finally getting live images on my TV of reporters attempting to cover Paro Nacional. Isn't that nice? But it's the same sort of stuff where, like, oh my God, buses are running. Everything is normal. This is what they did last time. Buses are running. Everything is normal. There's nothing going on. This is the national media in Peru. There's nothing going on. They're such a disappointment. They really just have no backbone. It's the intersection. So the fire downtown is at the intersection of Giron Huanta and Giron Cusco in the Cercado de Lima near Chinatown. And yes, I'm translating on the fly. So if I got a little bit of that wrong, I apologize. But and the number of units that are being reported as on hand is fluctuating somewhere between 15 and 19 units of firefighters on hand for that particular fire. And of course, as soon as that fire broke out, all coverage of the fire in Ventanilla sort of disappeared. So yeah, because then all of a sudden the fire in Ventanilla becomes less important. 3.9 billion euro to help flooding victims there. This is my page too. So for you can obviously notice my personal is up here and this is up here. That's the news page for Peru. I've separated them, right? So that, you know, I can also talk about US news on mine, on my personal, and I can go live and talk with people about US goings on without like creating a weird situation. Any flooding in Peru? Yes, there was a huaico, which is landslides caused by heavy rain and flooding in Huánuco. It's that time of year here for the people in the mountains where rainy season kicks off, and if you have had a particularly dry winter in the mountains, then you may not have the vegetation that will allow for the water to be absorbed when you get heavy rains, and then you can end up with huaicos, which can do significant amounts of damage. 500 houses were damaged in Huánuco. I believe the number was 30 houses collapsed. If you watched video coming out of Huánuco, then you would see things like moto taxis being swept down the street by floodwaters and debris. They are cleaning up in Huánuco. They've had to use heavy equipment to sort of push away any... I apologize for people's really loud vehicles. It's like mufflers haven't been invented in Peru. But yeah, they've been having to use heavy equipment to push away some of the debris in Huánuco. But Ministry of Housing is on site. Ministry of Health was also on site fairly like yesterday, and Ministry of Housing today. So you are seeing some national level response from the bureaucracy of Peru, but there are very little statements out of the political leadership of Peru. They're focused on other things. There was for instance, a congresswoman from, I want to say Puno, who for Fuerza Popular, who had her home burglared and cell phones and stuff like that were taken. And then she didn't allow the police to investigate. Weird. And they're focused on shit, yeah. And Dina Boluarte is only dealing with APEC. She will not make a statement about the protests or strike movement ongoing, and she has not, to my knowledge, said anything about what's going on in Huánuco. What's going on, Donnie? So she's pretty much useless as ever. You are here. sometimes I read things on here and I'm like, what? Okay, so the director of risk management, no, the disaster risk management manager, which was overseeing the fire in downtown Lima right now, says it's complicated to fight the fire because it's on the fifth floor, and the fifth floor is made of drywall, which is a weird sort of thing. But how am I? It's been a busy morning. It's been a busy morning. Um, there's a lot going on, and we're trying to track all of it. And so, am I married? Yes, I am married. Um, yeah. Barrios Altos. Yeah. It's the fire, Barrios Altos. And honestly, like the fire is a big enough story at this point that it has displaced even the APEC news. Uh, Downtown Lima, yeah. Where I have is what I've seen is here on Cusco. Um, yeah, here on Cusco, and oh, is the other street, but near Chinatown, Cusco and Huancavelica. You think? Um, and then of course, like some people are just like near, because anytime there's a fire down there, um, they just go Mesa Redonda. So there's also a bit of that sort of coverage where it's just like, oh, the fire's at Mesa Redonda. Well, no, it's not. But I mean, it is like, okay, I get what you're saying. You're giving me a landmark, but I mean, anytime there's a fire in downtown Lima, everybody just goes Mesa Redonda, Mesa Redonda. Other things catch on fire too. Um, uh, Juanta, Juanta, Girones, Juanta con Cusco. So at the intersection of Giron Juanta and Giron Cusco. That's where the fire is, and it has on like in terms of my feed, it has like entirely displaced a lot of things. Uh, Images of Perro Nacional out of Trujillo now. So we got Trujillo, Huacho, Ica, Arequipa, Puno. See you later. Uh, yeah, I know they say Mesa Redondo because of like fire. It's not just one though. Like it's multiple fires in the past, and they just go, oh, it must be Mesa Redondo that's on fire. And yes, there was the really, 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 really bad fire that I think makes people very. Yes, they were highly traumatized by that. Oh, look, now we've got drone footage of the fire. Ah. Okay, so Bojack's, it is the first day of strikes um, around APEC. Dignitaries are now arriving in Lima. So we've had the Prime Minister of Thailand, the President of Vietnam, the Prime Minister of Malaysia. Like, uh, so dignitaries are arriving. They are being greeted sometimes at the airport, sometimes at the government palace. It seems to depend on like how important Peru thinks the other country is like how it seems. Um, and then on top of that, we've had a couple fires break out around Lima, and the big one, of course, being downtown. No, Trump is not president, so no, he will not be attending. They are always protesting in Peru. Not always, but, and it's very much justified right now. The fire is in central Lima. Yes. Cercado de Lima, near Chinatown, at the intersection of Giron Huanta and Giron Cusco. There are somewhere between 15 and 19 units of firefighters attending to the fire, which is on the fifth floor of the building. What happened before in the 90s? You mean the huge fire at Mesa Redonda? Yeah. Which is why when there's any fire down there, people say, yes, that's the build. It's an apartment building downtown in Cercado de Lima, near Chinatown. It's the fifth floor. The building is on fire. 19, well, it depends which media source you use, but somewhere between 15 and 19 units of firefighters are on the scene of the fire. I wouldn't say it's a large fire, but it is a difficult fire for them to deal with. So, Tina Bolivardi is just a weird, awkward person, guys. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Like, my feed refreshes and I get an image of Dina Boluarte standing there with the Prime Minister of Malaysia, and it's just like Dina Boluarte is just a weird, awkward person. I know that's not what we were talking about, but when the feed refreshes and then I'm like, oh, yeah, okay. Um, um, it's not that it's a small community per se. Um, it's, it's that they're not engaged in the news. No, I'm in Lima. Well, I'm south of the Metropolitana, but how do I find Peruvian news in English? I don't. It's here. I'm the one. I'm just reading it in Spanish, and then it would be the ideal channel for expats in Peru. I absolutely agree. Cree, say something in the comments so I know that. Oh, am I? You did. Sorry. Guest request. Accept. We'll bring up guests today because I don't know how long I'm going to be here. It could be a long time, honestly. What's up? No? Okay. No? Okay. Let's have conversations. If we're gonna be up here, let's have conversations. Because, well, there's a lot going on, and I'm interested to see what people think of what's going on. There's a lot, and it's the tough part about tracking all of it is that it is so national. Everything that is going on, it is so incredibly national. You're not seeing any of the protests or march. Like, yes, like a lot of the coverage of the protests and marches is coming out of Lima because, as we're all aware, everything gets sort of centralized around Lima. But like Trujillo, Huacho, Ica, Arequipa, Puno, I mean, and I'm sure points in between, right? There's just a lot. Why do I think about tropical birds when I think of Peru? Because you're thinking about Amazonas. Yeah, I think it's going to be bigger. It's going to be bigger tomorrow. This is just sort of because the dignitaries aren't here, right? The dignitaries aren't here. Tomorrow will be bigger. I think the 14th is the big day of protest. And it's unrealistic to expect that a lot of the merchants could do every single day, right? They're missing out on too much income, and they still have extortion threats, right? So, I mean, it's unrealistic to expect that the merchants will be participating every single day. But so I would expect that tomorrow, yes, will be the big day because you will have Xi will be front and center, Joe Biden will be here, Justin Trudeau will be here, and I think that's the best opportunity for the strikers and protesters to make themselves seen. Yes, you're right that Peru doesn't have the means to really deal with a national level protest. What's up, Bojax?
Hey, how you doing?
Oh, tired but alive. How are you doing?
I'm great. I feel the same. First of all, I appreciate what you're doing because my family's from Peru, and it's hard to get Peruvian news in English because my Spanish is not all well.
Yeah.
And I'm very much into the politics, and I ask my dad questions of like what's going on, but he speaks Spanish, so it's like sometimes it's like I don't know what you're saying too much. But the protests, what's going on? So again, why are they protesting the APEC?
Okay, so they're not actually protesting APEC, and this is like sort of they're protesting around APEC because APEC's a major summit, right? And so it'll get them more attention, but they are not protesting APEC itself. What they're protesting is a lack of security within the country overall. And that's at the hands of organized crime and extortionists who prey on, in particular, the informal sector of the Peruvian economy. So, and that's 70 to 80% of the workforce in Peru is informal. And so a lot of people are victims of extortion, and it seems like the police, the government in general, just don't want to do anything about it. They're not interested in addressing the issue because they see those people who are informal workers as sort of lesser than. And so
No, I didn't even talk about. I seen that in Trujillo too. Like they are extorting people, or they're like threatening business workers. I seen it in Lima. I think Ate or something. They had a state of emergency or something. I don't know. That's why I don't understand it. So it's like
Yeah,
it's weird, but
it's
yeah,
it's 16 districts in Lima, I believe, are under state of emergency.
yeah,
Ate is one of those districts.
yeah. I
Um,
didn't get that. I don't understand that.
and yeah, they are having problems in Trujillo and Libertad because of organized crime and extortion there. A lot of that is centered around the gang Los Pulpos.
I never
Um,
heard of that. And I heard they always complain about Venezuelans too, but I don't believe that because when I go to Lima, I mean Venezuelans are like one of the coolest people I see over there too. So
yes, they do complain about Venezuelans a lot. Um, in the last decade, there have been 1.5 million Venezuelan migrants to Peru alone. Um, and it's not that it hasn't created problems. It has created problems. But for the most part, any Venezuelan you come across is a genuinely, like anyone that I come across is a genuinely nice person.
I
Um,
agree.
I am aware though that there are concerns about like gang activity from Venezuelans like Tren de Aragua and stuff like that. But I think it gets made to be a bigger issue than it is, and it ignores the groups that are more familiar to many Peruvians in terms of extortion
Right.
attempts, and it sort of just puts the blame on migration when there are and there were a lot of internal problems to begin with.
Thank you. And that's what I've been. That's what I was trying to tell people. Like we already had, kind of. It was never a safe haven either. But I was like, these people are just looking. Like I said, I met a lot of them too when I went to Peru. They're very cool people. They're very workers because every time I go to one of those places, they're doing pedicure, anything. Like they're doing everything. So, but
Yeah.
that's interesting. I appreciate that.
So yeah, no, like so my door person here, he's Venezuelan. If I go to like my mother-in-law's, both of her door people are Venezuelan, right?
Right.
Um, I I know like some of the staff at Astrid y Gaston, which is Gaston Acurio's restaurant. Like some of them are Venezuelan, right? You can't just like paint it with like one broad brush and say Venezuelans are bad because there's a lot of different Venezuelans.
Exactly. I agree with that. It sounds something familiar that's going on here too. So.
Yeah, you have to deal with it in the United States as well because Tren de Aragua is taking over apartment buildings in Aurora, Colorado, and
Bro, I live in DC. I'm from DC. Bro, I made friends with 4 Venezuelan migrants who make music and stuff. And a lot of them over here, all they do is work. Like all they do is get on their motorbike and work. Like all they do is freaking work. Like they
yes,
don't do nothing else but work. I don't know why people complain about it. I'm like, bro, your food is getting here quicker because of Uber Eats because they're doing all this stuff. Like they're actually, I don't know. I don't see them as a problem to be honest.
right. Then it's the same thing here. Like a lot of so here it's not Uber Eats, it's like Rappi or Pedidos, right?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's the same thing. A lot of those guys are Venezuelan. Do you want your food or not?
Yeah, and it's cheaper. So no, I understand it. Yeah, that's very cool. Bro, I'm
Uh,
gonna keep following you because I need to be updated in Peruvian news in English. So I'm definitely following back. I'm gonna go back to work, but I appreciate
oh,
this exchange, this conversation.
oh, thanks, Bojax. Appreciate it.
No problem, bro. You have a good day. I hope I'm gonna come back to see you soon. Just gotta go back to work.
All right. Have a good day at work.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate that.
Yeah. Bye. So, um, gang helped by foreign intelligence agencies? No. Tren de Aragua is not being assisted by foreign intelligence agencies. Yeah, there's organized crime everywhere. Alien, there is organized crime everywhere. Snoop Dogg's not coming to APEC. Um, for all you sports fans, Peru and he's a Crip. I don't think that's happening. Peru and Chile, they do face off on Friday, the 15th at 8:30 p.m. So 2030, Chile and Peru in the football. In football, they are facing off. So be prepared for that. More Dina Boluarte meeting with the president of Malaysia. Again, Malaysia has made overtures to Peru about cooperation. I'm not sure the extent of that cooperation, but they have been sort of going back and forth on official social media accounts about cooperation with Malaysia. I actually see that as a pretty good thing. Some people may not, but I do see that as a very good thing. Malaysia has a lot of the similar situations to like a very similar situation to Peru. They're farther along that journey, I think, but in terms of development, but very similar. They had a very robust informal economic system. They had parts of the country, and still do, that are not very well developed, but then they have parts of the country that are extraordinarily well developed. And so you do have these huge disparities in wealth and income between different parts of Malaysia. And so I think that's a good relationship to have in terms of knowing how to deal and coming up with strategies around sort of improving your economy so you reduce the amount of informality. It also helps with development, of course. And hopefully it also brings about a foreign direct investment, which, always helps Peru. The foreign direct investment in Peru needs to increase. And if you read through Scotiabank's report, they published yesterday, increasing their outlook for Peruvian GDP for 2025. One of the things that they criticize is the government and the lack of government stability and the sort of lack of motivation by the government in attacking organized crime and extortion and other things. They criticize that because what Scotiabank is saying is that it absolutely is reducing the amount of money that should be coming into Peru in terms of foreign direct investment. They went as far as to say that like the GDP should be somewhere around 6%, but the government is incompetent and doesn't deal with things that they should be dealing with. Even more flooding coming, says, yeah, well, I think they're going to have, I don't know why people blame the King of Spain. There's not a whole lot the king can do. So the representative for the leader of Taiwan arrived in Peru this morning. He's being referred to in media, and I'm going to say Agencia Andina refers to the representative as being from Chinese Taipei. This is something that countries do when they know they're being watched by China, because China doesn't like to refer to Taiwan as Taiwan. They prefer that it get referred to as Chinese Taipei, because referring to it as Chinese sort of gives them the room to say that they want to reunite China. But it's Taiwan. If you're in the US, it's Taiwan. If you're in China, it's Chinese Taipei. So it's interesting to see how different media and the government refer to the leaders of Taiwan, because it sort of shows where they stand. Where does Peru stand on this? Are they Chinese Taipei and China has a right to them, or are they Taiwan and they are completely independent and should be treated as such? No, I don't think so, Alien. Like this, there's this idea going on around the world that Peru is a good destination for migration if you don't like the country that you're in. Okay. And Peru has enough to tackle with migration, and they have enough challenges to deal with when it comes to migration. Peru is still trying to deal with the 1.5 million Venezuelans over the last 10 years. They're preparing for US deportations, which could be hundreds of thousands of Peruvians. You don't know how many it ends up being. They're also preparing for a wave of Bolivian migration because Bolivia's economy is about to collapse. Yeah, other European countries will help them. I'm sure they'll love to get help from Portugal, right? That's how that works. The Spanish really love to get help from Portugal. So I hear. Um, so no, there's like, but the idea that like Peru is this like global destination. Look, Peru is growing and it is a great country and great people with great food and all of that stuff. And I'm not saying you shouldn't want to migrate to Peru. I am saying Peru has enough issues with migration currently that it's not going to be easy. It is. It's turning into one. Bill. It really is. It's like well, we moved down here from Canada, but it was for different reasons. It's not a migration thing. It's to be close to her family. But since doing that, like I have people ask me like, what about Peru as a destination? Because like a lot of Americans, for instance, go to Costa Rica, right? So but I get asked, what about Peru? What's Peru like, right? And I get so I get asked about it from other parts of the world as well. And the analysis of migration within South America shows that 70% of migrants from South American countries stay in South America. So they go to another South American country, right? And that has meant Peru, while Peru does have people leaving Peru, Peru has more people coming in. So there's more people coming in than leaving. And so the population is always growing through migration as opposed to shrinking as a result of people from Peru going to the United States or Canada. Right? And Bolivia was a part of Peru, and they do have very similar societies. I mean, in parts, yes. But Bolivia has pretty much depleted their foreign currency reserves entirely. Their economy is about to collapse. Inflation is climbing rapidly. They are in a similar situation to where Peru was in the late 1980s under Alan Garcia. And it is leading to Well, the analysis of it is saying that there's going to be a significant wave of migration out of Bolivia because of the economic situation. And a lot of those people don't want to go to Argentina because of Argentina's economic situation. And they don't necessarily want to go to Chile because of Chile's economic situation. Chile is experiencing slower growth, for instance, than Peru. Yeah, it's not though. It's not. It's not. 70% of immigrants stay in South. So yeah, if you're from Venezuela, for instance, and you migrate out of Venezuela, 70% of those people, as an example, will stay in South America. They'll go to another South American country. 70%, only 30% do the whole I'm going north to get the hell out of here. Yeah, that's something that I think a lot of people in North America don't really understand, in particular, particularly the United States. They don't really understand that, like, as much as they don't like the migration levels, like, the countries around South America are more likely to absorb those migrants than the US is. Any big car factories here? There in Peru? No. In Brazil, there's some auto manufacturing. Um, but in Peru, no. It's not a thing yet. I think that will change in the next 5 to 10 years, but it has not changed yet. Yeah, it depends where you are in South America. So economic instability is the bigger driver in Peru. Political violence and economic stability are both the big drivers in Venezuela. They have been big drivers of migration out of Colombia in the past. But you do also have people coming in, right? That's like from like that. The weird part is violence is also a driver in Peru. Yeah, it is, but not to the extent that it is in Venezuela. Bill, I really don't like the whole like it's only Tren de Aragua, because if you say that it's just Tren de Aragua, then you're saying Los Popos is fine. It's fine if a Peruvian does it. We don't like if a Venezuelan does it, and either you don't like it or you like it. Either you think it should, like, the extortion and everything should stop, or you don't have a problem with it. You can't just say, "Oh, it's Venezuelans." It's not. Los Popos existed before Tren de Aragua was an issue. Los Popos has been a problem in Peru longer than Tren de Aragua has been a problem in Peru. But I don't see any Peruvians ever say like, "Oh, but Los Popos." Yeah, they did. They absolutely have, but they don't get the attention because they're not migrants. Like, Los Popos has penetrated the national police in cases like that just came out this week, audio tapes and like pictures and like photographs of like national police protecting Los Popos members who are actively engaged in violence and extortion. But it doesn't seem like Peruvians have much of a problem with Los Popos. They go, "Oh, but they're Peruvian, so it's okay." No, it's a crime. They are committing crimes. They're extorting. They're committing violence. They have hitmen, just like Tren de Aragua has hitmen, right? They have all of those things. right? So is it bad, or does this entirely depend on xenophobia? Because the xenophobia says, oh, it's only Venezuelans, and that's not the case. It is not the case and has never been the case. And it's not that Trinidad has more resources. They don't. The problem is that Trinidad works for the Venezuelan government, not for the Peruvian government. Yeah, well, hyperbolically, yeah, that's probably a bit of a problem. Yeah, that's why the media only talks about them. But I mean, like, that's not the reality. The reality for shop owners, business owners, all of that is that it doesn't matter whether Los Pulpos is extorting you or Trinidad. You're being extorted. Los Pulpos is a big organization. Here. Like, Los Pulpos was getting a more attention in international media than Tren de Aragua was until Donald Trump decided that Tren de Aragua needed more attention. I wish there was this is only in, they're not on the English side of, no, I don't want to do that. No, I don't want to do that. Okay. No, that's not what I wanted. But I think the last one I saw from was in English was Insight Crime, Peru's private schools targeted for extortion by Los Popos. Yeah, they do have a strong presence in Chile and Ecuador. They are a multinational gang. Insight Crime, which is an actual crime organization. Barons, which is it's a sort of higher end news magazine. Pay Up or Else, Latin America cowed by lucrative extortion, and they talk about Los Pulpos. The story is based around Los Pulpos. But I like how neither does Tren de Aragua. You're told that they do because you're told to be afraid of them. That's La Republica, so that's domestic Peru. Courthouse News Service, but it looks like that's just a republication of the Barron's article. Getty Images has actual stock photos of Los Pulpos. That's fucking great. But yeah, if you're like a news junkie, you sort of knew who Los Pulpos was, or you have known who Los Pulpos is for a while, and you didn't have to be in Peru to know who they are. I wouldn't say Trinidad de Aragua is any more sophisticated. I think they're more motivated because they're coming out of Venezuela. But I mean, it's the same thing as MS-13. When MS-13 first emerged as an international criminal organization out of El Salvador, like everybody said, oh, MS-13 is the most destructive gang in the world. And it's like, well, yeah, are they bad? Yes. But I mean, the most destructive in the world, don't forget everybody else's gangs. Yeah. Like Los Pulpos does more damage domestically in Peru than Tren de Aragua does, but Tren de Aragua gets a lot of the attention because Dina Boluarte will tell you that the problem in Peru is Venezuelans. It has nothing to do with Peruvians. And the media in Peru will tell you, as a result, the problem in Peru is Venezuelans. It is not Peruvians. But then when you go into La Libertad and you go into parts of Lima, who are the ones doing the extortion? It's Los Popos. And it's not Tren de Aragua. And it's not that Tren de Aragua does no extortion. They do extortion. And it's not that Tren de Aragua doesn't commit violent acts. They do commit violent acts. And it's not that they don't do petty theft. They do petty theft. They do all of those things. Los Popos does all of those things too, and probably to a greater extent. They just don't get any attention for it. In fact, I would say definitely to a greater extent, but they don't get any attention. Everything goes to Tren de Aragua because if Los Popos extorts 5 people, that's just Los Popos extorting 5 people. If Tren de Aragua extorts 1 person, well, then that's like then it's Tren de Aragua extorted people. They're from Venezuela. How are they even here? Why is this like so? Yeah. If you're like expats and tourists they do work with Trujillo's government, and they also extort private schools in La Libertad, and they do all sorts of goddamn shit they don't get enough coverage for because people are focused on Tren de Aragua. Strong police presence at the airport in Arequipa. Okay. Well, apparently that needs to be covered because there are strikes ongoing in Arequipa. So need to make sure that gets covered. Still getting photos out of Dina welcoming the Malaysian Prime Minister. Still getting photos out of it and video and there were 3 explosions in that fire in downtown. And of course, yeah, the drone footage of that fire makes it look really, really bad. Stuff like people are carrying a rat piñata to protesters are stopped by the PNP for carrying a rat piñata to protest against Dina Boluarte. Protesters say the figure represents the government's corrupt practices. Like, oh, now you've gone too far. You've got a pinata. That's violence against paper mache. Uh, Tren de Aragua is nowhere even close to ISIS or Al Qaeda. They're not even like in the same fucking neighborhood. I mean, shit. I was around for the. I've fought Al Qaeda in multiple countries, and um, I was around for the formation of ISIS in the very early days. Saw it happening, and they are not even close to the same. Not even remotely close. Like, not at all in the same neighborhood. Not at all in the same neighborhood. And not even with financing could they be like that. It's totally different incentive systems. It's totally different. There's no, like, just, it's entirely different. Entirely different. There's, it, what sets them apart? Well, okay, Al Qaeda and ISIS both have a religious basis in extremist Sunni Islam that brings them together, that they believe in across multiple countries of the world, multiple regions of the world. So we're talking Asia to include the Middle East, North America, Africa, right? And Europe, right? So then you say like, oh, well, that's the same as Tren de Aragua? No, not even close. And then what is their motivation? Well, their motivation is terrorism and political change, right? To promote the formation of an Islamic caliphate. What's Tren de Aragua's purpose? Tren de Aragua's purpose is extortion for personal enrichment, or crime in general for personal enrichment. The motivations are nowhere even close to in the same neighborhood, and what they want to achieve is nowhere close to in the same neighborhood. They are not even minorly the same. It'd be like saying like the NRA in the United States is the same as Al Qaeda. But in reality, they are both tools for greater power whose purpose is instability? No. I don't think Tren de Aragua wants political power. La agencia neurológica decretaron alerta roja, red alert on las provincias de Málaga y Tarragona Noreste por esta nueva Dana. I'm not so good at that translation because it's meteorological. The meteorological agency has declared a red alert, the maximum, in the provinces of Malaga South and Tarragona Northeast due to this new Dana, which it seems like a rain event. Being Peru back. Bringing Peru back to the U.S. orbit. So what, like Tren de Aragua is now, like, who do they work for then? The U.S. government, the Venezuelan government, who do they work for? Yeah, okay, things have calmed down enough, I think, that I will have a chance to update things. I will go back to updating the webpage and putting out videos. I'm not yelling at you, but like the thing is, there's a lot of conspiracy around Tren de Aragua that they don't deserve. They just don't. They're exactly what MS-13 was 10 years ago. They're not as scary as people make them out to be at all. Weather in Peru is rainy now. Yes, that is right. It is rainy now. It's going to rain in Peru a lot. If you're in the mountains, it's going to rain. There was an orange alert issued for Lima yesterday. I don't know. This happens on the coast fairly regularly. Is the coast will get some sort of warning or alert, and then like you go outside and like the thing that they're talking about lasts for about an hour and a half, and then the weather changes, and it's not usually rain on the coast. It's wind. You get the wind warning on the coast. It lasts for like an hour and a half or 2 hours or whatever, and then it's done. Rain in the mountains, though, is another factor. It is that season in Peru for rain in the mountains. And so, I mean, it's just going to be a thing. There's going to be a lot of red alerts and orange alerts, and will be more huaicos, and there will be more issues. I think this year is going to be particularly interesting because you're sort of changing from a La Nina to an El Nino, or the other way, from an El Nino to a La Nina, sorry. And yeah, so it's going to be an interesting weather year, I think, here. It's both. Tourism in the mountains is sort of suppressed during South American summer because it depends where you are in the mountains, of course, but it can be very rainy, and that can make tourism or travel in the parts of the mountains very dangerous. At the same time, though, you can still very much be a tourist other parts of Peru. It may be very, very hot in some places, like Nazca, for instance, is going to be very hot, right? And Ica can get pretty hot too. Places like that. So, like, if you're going to go to like Huacachina or something like that, because you're that sort of tourist, then yeah, you probably want to go like sort of like late fall, right? Or in the fall, in the autumn, because it won't be quite as hot as like midsummer, where Ica can get very, very, very hot during the day, right? It can. So like there are seasonal aspects to it, but if you're on the coast, you can pretty much visit almost any time. You just won't like it as much in South American winter, which would be your summer in North America or in the Northern Hemisphere. So because it's a little bit more gray in the winter. Well, it's definitely gray in the winter here. You live under the belly of the donkey, as they say in Lima, but yes, that's translated. They don't actually say, we live under the belly of the donkey. They don't do that. Because no inglés. See? All right. I'm going to take off and go back to updating as per usual. Things have slowed down enough that I can do that. This has been wonderful, though, and I will be back for 6 p.m. As always, follow on here, subscribe on YouTube, do all of that stuff at Pensante Peru. Yeah. What's up, Tita? What's the difference? You just get a slightly different view. And on YouTube, you can watch all the lives later as well because they are automatically recorded and just there. You can watch them later. So you don't have to watch me live. All right. Bye bye, everybody. Have a wonderful day.